this is how to make your videos look like this. B-roll. So in case you guys don't know, this, what you're looking at right now, this would be considered A-roll. And this cutaway, whatever you're looking at now, would be B-roll. It's not the main focus of the video, it's just a cutaway to kind of explain what you're talking about. So here are 5 ways to improve those kind of shots. The first is the iPhone flashlight method. I used this method for the first time on my Garmin watch video I made recently, and you can see in the intro how the light glimmers off of the watch. Take a look. Essentially, it works a little something like this. Position your subject in the middle of the frame and turn on the flashlight to your phone. But before you get shooting with this shot, you gotta turn down the exposure on your camera. And no, I'm not talking about the aperture. Leave the aperture wide open because you want to have a blurred out background, but turn down your shutter speed and primarily your ISO, so the object is super dark. Hopefully you can barely see the object in the beginning, and then once you bring the iPhone flashlight in, it's revealed and it looks really nice and cinematic. But also don't make it too dark because you want to be able to see the object once you bring the light into the frame. But once you've tested it out and it looks pretty good, hit record and slowly but surely move your light just out of frame around your object, just so that the object slowly gets lit up in different areas and it kind of glimmers around the light. It looks really, really cool, and it's a great way to reveal the object. It shows the object for the first time and it comes out of the darkness. It just looks awesome. And that's a technique that I just recently learned that I would definitely recommend. The second tip is the top-down overhead shot, MKBHD style. So there are a few ways to accomplish the Mark S. Brownie type overhead shot. For one, you could just mount your phone or your camera on a tripod and just point down onto the table. But oftentimes you can see the legs of the tripod in the frame, which is obviously not what you want, and it's just not very convenient because if you're over here trying to do stuff in the frame, the tripod's gonna be right here in your way, so it's just not the best strategy. Instead, I used some PVC in an old backdrop holder and built an overhead rig that's actually right here just off a frame. I've talked about it before with you guys, but it's an awesome strategy for getting an overhead shot. The problem is though, just an overhead shot of this plain white table and an object that I'm maybe holding over it doesn't look very cinematic. But there are a few ways you can change that. Pick up some poster board or construction paper from your local Walgreens and stick it onto the table so that it fills the frame of your shot. Then you can litter that area with tons of different props and things in the background that just look kinda cool, and then bring your object into shot. You can hold it or just put it into the middle, but definitely make sure that the shot centers around your object so that the props around it don't distract it. Once you've got that, it will look super cinematic and much more pleasing to the eye than just you holding an object above a white table. There's a lot more fun, it pops a lot more when there's a cooler background to your shot. But of course, it's time for tip number 3, and that is the overhead lighting shot. So this is kind of a combination of the last 2 tips that I told you guys about with the iPhone flashlight and the overhead rig. Essentially, it works a little bit something like this. Whip out that phone flashlight again because you're gonna need it, and center your subject somewhere in the middle of the frame, and then mount your phone onto a tripod or onto the overhead rig you've hopefully just built or something. Just make sure it's still and you have both hands, you're not just holding it. Then once it's mounted above the object, turn on that flashlight so that it's shining down on the object, and in this case, different from the first time, it's actually best if you turn all of the lights in the room off. So the only thing that's lighting up your object is the iPhone flashlight above it. And now that you have both hands, because the smartphone is mounted above your object, take your camera and turn down the ISO just like last time. But this time not too far. You just want to make the background as dark as it can be, but you still want to be able to see the object in the frame. And now do some pans, tilts, maybe even a slider shot, whatever you want to do, but your object should look really, really dramatic, since the only thing lighting it up is that small singular light above it. It's super dramatic, and this one was inspired to me by Peter McKinnon, who did the exact same thing, but he used awesome giant studio lights that none of us probably have access to. So I think that the iPhone flashlight method works just as well. On to tip number 4, and that is use a macro lens. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, Jack's just going to tell us to spend $700, $800 on a macro lens, and that's actually not what I'm gonna say at all. But before I even get into that, let me quickly explain what a macro lens even is. Essentially, a macro lens is a type of lens for your camera that allows you to get super, super close to an object and see things you've never seen before. You can get like microscopic views of things, and it looks really, really nice to get those super close-up shots for your B-roll. But as I previously stated, lighted macro lenses are really expensive. Luckily though, there is a solution. Pick up a kit of 4 of these macro lens adapters from Amazon. They're essentially just filters that you stick onto an existing lens. The one I bought has the perfect size to fit onto my Canon 18-55mm lens, but again, just buy whatever size fits your favorite lens and just screw them onto it. Then you can get super close to your object and get those awesome macro shots without breaking the bank. These filters are super inexpensive from Amazon, and they will definitely do the trick for getting some B-roll that you never thought you'd be able to get before. Trust me, these little filters have opened up a whole new world of possible shots. And finally, tip number 5 is go outside! Whether you are completely broke or have the video equipment of Team Crispy, we all, every single one of us in the entire world, have access to the brightest light of all. The best video light in the entire world. It's called the sun. Some of the best B-roll I've ever gotten is outside. The sun always will provide perfect lighting for whatever your subject is. If you're not trying to do anything fancy like I described in some of the previous shots, just head outside and put your subject into frame. You can do one of these shots and one of these, and it's always going to look perfectly lit. From almost any angle, the sun will always fill in the shadows because it's just so bright. Now, obviously, you can't always go outside, especially if you live here in Illinois like I do, where it was -27 this winter and snowed literally last week in mid-April. But there are these amazing things people invented. We'll call them windows because that's what they're called. And they let the sun pass through and into the indoors. So just stick your object next to a window and use that natural lighting to light the object. It's going to be better than anything you could possibly accomplish indoors, especially if you don't already have a nice lighting solution to begin with. So yeah, guys, that is pretty much it for this video. If you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like and let me know down below which of these was your favorite. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to get notified every single time I upload and get polls like this one that decided on this video in your feed. That way you can vote on the next video or things you want to see in the video and really be a part of this channel. So guys, I will see you next time. I'm Jack. Peace.